How do you like it, Dory? I'm thinking of even starting a new philosophy. No isolation, no peace makes Frederick Ritter something, something. Go crazy? Don't mind if I do. Now you're just going to sit in here until you calm down. Chicken will be good tonight. I feel like Galapagos chicken tonight, like Galapagos chicken tonight. It's shake and bake Galapagos chicken, and I helped. Eden comes to us from writer-director Ron Howard, who got his big break in Happy Days and has parlayed that into a filmmaking career that has run the gamut from really good like Apollo 13 all the way to fuck was he thinking with some of this stuff. I mean, honestly, it's such a strange filmography because he is a talented filmmaker, but man, oh man, where does this film, land on the gamut of Ron Howard films? I'll let you know here in a little bit. Ron Howard can't do it alone, for he is an old man, and he decided to have somebody else help him write this, such as Noah Pink, who wrote the Tetris movie. Who remembers they did a Tetris movie? It was strange. It wasn't bad, but it was strange. So this is based on factual events, recountings of people that actually lived in this time period for memoirs, books, and I don't know, fucking carrier pigeons that brought over little pieces of paper on stones. It's a simple question of weight ratio. Because a 5-ounce bird could not carry a 1-pound coconut. But Floerana and the Galapagos Islands, basically in 1929, you have Jude Law, who plays Frederick Ritter. Gifted Jude Law, by the way, very, very talented. Was recently in The Order and going back to artificial intelligence. And his career has certainly been interesting, but he's a very talented actor. And he wants to create a new philosophy that will save humanity from itself. A new philosophy that he must come to this island, along with his main squeeze, Dory, played by the very gifted, gorgeous, and uber fucking captivating Vanessa Kirby from the Fantastic Four First Steps and the last couple of editions of the Mission Impossible franchise. And really, I love Vanessa Kirby. That part with Galactus and the Fantastic Four First Steps, holy shit, that's fucking cinema right there. So I saw this at the cinema, by the way. This was the Regal Mystery Movie, because this comes out in semi-wide release a little bit later on. It's from Vertical Entertainment. More on their films here in a bit, though I will say You're a Monster with Melissa Barrera deserved a whole lot more attention than it got. That was a mystery movie that I saw last year. So, we have Jude Law. We have Vanessa Kirby. They're living on this island. Okay, it's not exactly perfect, but they have a garden. Get it, Eden, garden, get it. You fucking get it. Are we hitting you over there with the fucking symbolism yet? And Dory, unfortunately, does have illnesses. Ritter is a bit nuts, shall we say, but he's very determined with his work. And they wanted to escape Germany, basically because Germany is kind of not doing all that well right now. In fact, 1929 into the early 30s, you have the stuff going on with the Great Depression that wasn't just affecting the U.S., by the way. But it still was shown better in just text than it was in fucking Time Cop. So, basically, these two are just on this island. A few years later, suddenly other people start showing up. Such as Heinz, not 57, played by Daniel Bareau, who was in Inglourious Bastards and the Cloverfield Paradox. Who remembers the Cloverfield Paradox? Shut your you-know-what mouth. I don't know if I can say that word. You don't remember that, because the Cloverfield Paradox didn't fucking happen. Anyway, that being said, he also has a younger wife, Margaret, played by Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney has this constant look on her face like she is confused by the mere act of how to breathe correctly. What the fuck do people see in her? I mean, seriously. And she also has a scared expression on her face in addition to being confused. Like, okay, you're unsure how to breathe correctly. Ask somebody how to breathe correctly. Do that. Oh, you don't understand the simple task? Well, just sit there and just look pretty, because that's pretty much all Sydney Sweeney is capable of doing. I'm sorry, that immaculate ending, that does not justify the fact that this woman is getting a lot of attention because she looks good, which is fine. That's really all you need to be in Hollywood, but after a while, you need to be more. You need to actually be able to act, and Sydney Sweeney has failed to show me that she can act. Americana was not the worst example of her acting ability, but God, the confused, just almost blank, emotionless face. It's like, good, just have a different expression, you stupid blonde twat. So anyway, she ends up pregnant, and also, Heinz, not 57, has a son that also is ill. And basically they wanted to come here for the tropics and the air, and possibly, they could feel it in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. And then another character shows up, Eloise, a.k.a. the Baroness, played by Ana de Armas, who, what I said about Sydney Sweeney, pretty much copy and paste that. I mean, Ana has shown the ability to at least try, and I know that it's probably the accent, and speaking of accents, there are some terrible German accents in this. It is actually astonishing just how many gifted people are in this, and Sydney Sweeney, and how bad all the accents are. In fact, I think even at some points they just drop the goddamn accents. It's really goddamn hilarious. This was also filmed in Australia, not on the Galapagos Islands. And yeah, it's going to be out a little bit later this week, so let me give my initial thoughts. I fucking hated this. I fucking hated everything about this. I thought that the campy moments could have been funny, but unfortunately it clashed with the tone of isolation and, like the themes of not being able to trust certain people, that are in this close proximity on this livable part of this island. There's also animals. There's a boar. There's a cow. If you're not a fan of animal violence, you might not care for some of this stuff, but a lot of it is off screen. There are a lot of dogs, especially rabid ones, that I assume were either dumped. I don't know where you would dump them. I don't know why you go out of your way to do that. It is what it is. Sydney Sweeney, at one point, her expression changes once, like in one scene, and other than that, that's it. Like, you just want to zap her with a cattle or tase stun gun like they did to Bill Goldberg and see if anything will happen. This cost $30 to $50 million, according to searches, and that's just around, the $50 million just around what In the Lost Lands cost for Vertical Entertainment, which was a bomb. And I expect this movie to be a bomb, because this movie is a bomb. This movie is terrible. If it's trying to recount true events or events that were recounted in memoirs, it does a terrible job with it. Yes, you want to have a little bit of fun with it, and you want to let your cast do what they can with the material. But just for whatever this film was trying to be, it was really, really fucking bad. I mean, there were like lines in this that didn't really ring true. Jude Law was trying at some points, and I think just gave up. Ana de Armas, at one point, was just looking good and acting sexy, because, let's be honest, those are her strengths. It's certainly not acting. And Sydney, bless her. Bless her. You keep, promoting jeans, like that Brooke Shields ad, because she is going to have to rely on her fucking looks here. Vanessa, I bless her for trying here, but like the cause was lost 40 minutes in. Like, there was a halfway decent setup, but for this film to try to push this drama, this dramedy, this concept of, oh, you don't know who to trust or whatever. I didn't care about any of these motherfuckers. Maybe that was the idea. Maybe you weren't supposed to actually root for anybody in this movie, but then it tries to push that aside and actually have you root for some people. But I'm sorry, nothing about this works. Nothing about this works at all. I didn't get it as far as what they were going for. Beyond, it was just a movie to be made, and they gave Ron Howard a bunch of money to just basically make it, and the cast got paid, and there you go. That means that it's in theaters right now. If you want to check it out, 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, if you were expecting a historical recap of the book and the memoirs, whatever the fuck, no, I'm not going to read the fucking books. And I'm sorry, it's not that I don't want to read them, but I'm not going to do it for a review of a movie that basically does not deserve that much research. What is the true meaning of life? Pain. And pain certainly is something that you will find in this movie. In pain, we learn about truth, and in truth, we learn salvation. I was willing to be, sent to, or given salvation. I was about ready to get down on my knees and be baptized just to get away from this fucking film, and I'm not religious. The terrible German accents, except for Anna, who's doing her normal accent, but I don't care how mean this sounds, but if you're going to have her do this stuff, you need to give people something. I'm sorry. You do. Because it's that thing when you're getting so excited that, like, the words start to get jumbled. Because she's eloquent, she speaks well, but it just was not coming across on screen. And she has a book, Dorian Gray's The Portrait of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. She calls herself the embodiment of perfection. And again, beautiful woman, probably has the brain capacity of a chickpea. But she has a dog that she tamed. There are other dogs that are there. Ritter had his teeth removed, or removed his own teeth because of infection. Now he has metal stuff for that. Sydney Sweeney at one point gives birth, and they have to dig the placenta out of her with hot water and a spoon, more like Sydney Spoony. Some just friends spooning. And if it sounds like I'm skipping over a lot of this stuff, yeah, I am, because there just isn't a lot. The narrative is so loose and so simple while trying to have these layered characters that you don't really care by halfway through. And there were some people in the audience that I was watching it with that were praising this, and that's fine. You guys can like it all you want. But the thing is, it does start out with Ritter and Dory, and then Ritter helps set up Heinz Not 57, Margaret and their son, and I forget what the son's name is. I don't care. I do not care. I know that Eloise's assistants are, well, two of them are Rudy and Robert. There's another that she fires because she wants to build this grand hotel. And she's also buying into her own goddamn hype as far as being the Baroness character and grifting money off of people and being pretty and getting by on her womanly ways. And then George Allen Hancock shows up, owner of La Brea Tar Pits and all that stuff, and filmmaker himself. He arrives with supplies later on. This actually is over an hour into the thing. There's trading between the Whitmers, is Heinz and Margaret, and or the Whitmers, because tomorrow belongs to them, and the Ritters. And basically, you would have thought that maybe there would have been some intelligence on display with these characters, like realizing, hey, wait a second, the Baroness is really the piece of shit, and she is. But it's not like Frederick is any better. Dory is driven mad because she has MS and also other issues and everything, has an infected tooth. That the poisoning of the blood is going to get to her brain. She's going to be going nuts. And yeah, Ritter's typing out on a goddamn typewriter, as you would in the 30s, and then freaks out and starts shooting at it. Well, that's one way to stop doing your work and everything. And as these ships arrive Alan basically is hit on by the Baroness. Not gonna be wrong, Ana de Armas would be hard to resist, but also she's laying it on too thick. Everybody else already does. And he just kind of pushes her off, like, nah, this isn't gonna work. By the way, these sex scenes are some of the worst sex scenes that I have seen in a purported big budget film. Like, and I get the idea is, okay, it's supposed to be more like like sex of convenience than passion, because it's not island passion. There's one between Jude Law and Vanessa Kirby, whatever. There's a sign of a threesome between Ana de Armas and I believe Rudy and Robert, if I remember right, or one of the other guys, I don't remember who. And there, essentially what happened, the worst scene, I think, is the Sydney Sweeney birth one, because she's trying to get away from these dogs, because she wanders out. There's this cow that got trapped by Heinz Not 57 while he's out hunting with his son. She's about to give birth because of all the stress and stuff like that, while the Baroness is being stupid and has had her hired goons steal canned goods, but then have this big feast and everything, and it's just, none of this is earned. None of this is earned. It's not good. But Sydney ends up having the kid. I know her name's Margaret, but just Sydney having the... And you would have thought that the birth scene in Immaculate would have helped her understand how to do this. No, she didn't do that. She is trying to protect the kid while the dogs are trying to get to her, but the editing is so bad you can't actually tell if the dogs are even in the same zip code, which is funny because it's a fucking island. And then a gunshot, and that got away. And oh, the kid's alive, but then they had to take the placenta out, hence the Sydney Spoony joke. And basically, what ends up happening after Hancock leaves, Rudy wants to leave, and there's this point where Robert and Eloise, the Baroness, are fucking, and then he runs out naked. Basically, when Heinz, not 57, Rudy, who needed to be fed by the Whitmers because the Baroness wasn't feeding him, and without thin the Armin says you probably starve. I'm sorry, that's mean. That's mean, but I don't care because this is mean-spirited. But along with Ritter, they are going to kill. They're going to basically take their stuff back. Now this is supposed to be dramatic, but then it tries to go for laughs, which don't really work. None of this gels at all. Essentially, they end up Heinz, not 57, ends up killing Robert by stabbing him a bunch. And then they shoot Eloise in the head, Ritter does. They throw their bodies off, and their bodies basically are never seen again. And then the idea is that Ritter has also fed rotted meat to the chickens. The chickens died. Margaret gives some fresh chickens that they've raised somehow to Dory. But Dory decides, hey, I'm going to cook some chicken. She cooks some bad chicken, which gives food poisoning to Ritter after he's freaked out. And after he's pulled a tooth out of her mouth and she's got the infection, she's stumbling around, gets the chickens, bakes the chickens, goes up the hill to fetch a pail of water. And then he's got food poisoning. He ends up dying. And then there's an inquiry where these police show up. They somehow managed to find out about it because Ritter wrote to the newspaper. He went to the papers if he had to. Nobody besides like two people that are WWE film fans will get it. And essentially, he said, oh, this is what happened, that Heinz, not 57, killed him. No, he didn't. He didn't do that. She basically said, well, we're the only ones that have survived. Dory's gone nuts. And you would have thought that a guy that lived on this island for so long wouldn't have given in to food poisoning and done that. So basically, they got off scot-free, which actually, Heinz, not 57, did not kill them. But still, Dory ends up going back to Germany. She dies from MS in 43. She wrote a book about the stuff. Margaret ends up writing her own book. Lived on the island until the year 2000, when she died at 96. And then her descendants opened up a small hotel, the dream of the Baroness and everything and stuff like that. Whatever. I hate this. I hated this. It was so bad. It was so bad. Like, this was just, everything about this was just dog shit. And if that offends you, I don't really care, because you guys can like this all you want. So that being said, agree, disagree. F, by the way, F, just in case you didn't get it. It might be on my worst films of the year list because it's really bad. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe. Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rittland. Until we eat in again, happy trails to you.